Hey everyone, today I'm sharing my reaction to the Richard Borshay Lee story, Eating Christmas in the Kalahari. In this video, I'll give a quick summary of the story, explain how worldview shapes cultural meaning, and point out an example of ethnocentric biases and connected to cultural norms, including one from my own life, and then share the most important lesson I learned. The story is about Lee, an anthropologist living with the Kung people. At Christmas, he wanted to thank them by buying an ox for a feast. He thought they would be excited, proud, and grateful. But instead, they laughed at him. They said the ox was skinny and weak and not worth much. He felt embarrassed and even insulted. Later, he learned they weren't being rude. This was part of their culture. They always downplay gifts. It's a way to keep everyone humble and prevent arrogance. Lee realized that in their community, teasing isn't cruelty, it's a social tool. By cutting people down a little, they keep the group equal and close-knit. This made him rethink what generosity really mean. It reminded him and us that their values focus more on equality and humanity than on showing off wealth or generosity. This story shows how worldview changes meaning. In Lee's culture, a big gift means generosity and usually deserves praise. But in the Kung culture, mocking the gift shows respect because it keeps people grounded and stops anyone from thinking they're better than a group. The same action, giving an ox, had two very different meanings depending on the worldview. It also made me think of my own culture and how compliments are normal. If someone gives you a gift, you praise it. But in their worldview, that kind of praise could actually create a distance or pride, which they want to avoid. Lee shows anthropocentrism when he assumed this way of giving was normal. He expected gratitude because that's what would happen in his culture. When he didn't get it, he judged the Kung people through his own lens and left insulted. That's cultural bias. He thought their behaviors were wrong when really it just reflected a different worldview. This is a reminder that anthropocentrism doesn't always look like open disrespect. Sometimes it's just the assumption that my way isn't the right way. Lee wasn't trying to be arrogant, but his expectations showed how easy it is to carry invisible culture assumptions. The story also challenges the idea that cultural norms are universal. In my world, saying thank you is polite and expected. For the Kung people, teasing is polite. It's a way to build community and keep people equal. Neither one is right or wrong, it just depends on the cultural lens. This really pushed me to reflect how many of the rules I follow daily, like handshakes, table manners, or holiday traditions, are just cultural habits, not universal truths. In my culture, we celebrate Thanksgiving with a huge meal of turkey, stuffing, and dessert. That feels completely normal and even meaningful to me. But to an outsider, it might look excessive, wasteful, or even strange to have so much food at once. Their worldview would shape how they interpret things. What I see as a tradition of gratitude and togetherness, they might see in a total different light. For example, someone from a culture that values simplicity or fasting might not understand why we go to such lengths for one meal. That shows me that even practices I see as positive could be misunderstood if I don't explain the values behind them. One best practice for cross-cultural communication is to stay curious and humble, instead of judging right away. We should ask questions and try to learn why people act the way they do. In the story, if Lee had asked why they teased the ox, he would have understood their value and humanity much faster. Being open-minded helps us avoid misunderstandings. What feels rude or strange at first might actually be a sign of respect in the other culture. I think another good practice is to pause before reacting. Many misunderstandings happen because we assume immediately instead of observing. A short pause to reflect can help us respond with curiosity instead of judgment. The most important lesson I learned from this story is that worldview and perception shape every cross-cultural interaction. If we look through our own lens, we miss the deeper meaning behind the other people's action. But when we stay humble and open-minded, we can truly learn from each other. For me, This reinforced the idea that intellectual communication isn't just about speaking another language. It's about learning to see the world from other perspectives. Thank you for listening.